I want to teach you an important lesson that I learned recently. Um, that I think it matters a lot, and that's that I know the big problem currently is that many guys have is that they don't really have any role model or mentor. At least that they know personally, but even online, they don't really have. People, young men are searching for someone to look up to, and someone to trust and to take their advice. And that happens with a lot of YouTubers, but with YouTubers, it's often, it's not a personal relationship. And so you can't just ask them for advice. They don't just tell you, what to do in your specific situation or anything. And of course, there are communities, but I think that, every young man probably feels like they should have some kind of mentor, even ideally their father probably, but some kind of mentor who's ahead of them, and who knows them personally, who's there for them, and who they can go to when they have questions, when they're clueless, when they are helpless. And I've looked around online and in real life, to kind of look and find someone, and I met I know I've seen online and I've met in real life multiple people who I thought, could be my mentors, or who are not, maybe not mentors because I wouldn't live with them or wouldn't see them often, but at least role models, someone who I want to be like. And with each and every one of them. So the first one was Ryan Horgan, who is a YouTuber. He's a great YouTuber. He's a great guy. I'm in his community, so you should definitely check him out. But the reason I realized that, maybe he's not my perfect role model, um, is because he's not as interested in the stuff that I'm interested in, and he doesn't have. Of course, his values are very similar. That's why I also enjoy his videos. But he's not exactly like me. So I thought, okay, maybe I should look somewhere else. And in the community, I met a guy who I still talk to every now and then, on Discord. And he's also a great guy. He's very intelligent. He's smart. He's very interested in many things that I'm interested in too. But the more I chatted with him and with others in the general chat, um, um, then I kind of realized that he also has some values that are very, maybe not opposed, but different to mine. And he's not very, I don't know how to put it properly, but he's not exactly who I want to become. He definitely has many qualities that I want to have, and he has great advice for me. He has, kind of paved the way for me to follow, to an extent, but um, he's not exactly what I want to be like. And I had these moments, even with him, who I really admired, where I thought, "Damn, bro, that like this guy ain't shit." Um, that's of course a bit exaggerated, but it is true. There were these moments where I thought, like, I don't want to be like this, or this is not what I believe to be true. This is not the values that I have. um, and that also, and then I met people in real life, and that was the more interesting. That was the more interesting part, because, of course, real life interaction is always more interesting than online. But um, I think this is definitely worth listening to you. It's quite an interesting thing here. I'm in Thailand currently, and in Thailand there's lots of drugs. And now you're probably saying, yeah, okay, drugs, short-term dopamine, that sort of stuff. Everything that the YouTubers are telling. That's bad, drugs bad, this and that. But many people here are um, very, or at least they seem so at first. They're very at peace mentally. not concerned, but at the same time, it's not like their life is shit and they just, take drugs to make them feel better. Many actually have their life in order, and then they, take kind of like psychedelic drugs, and they have these crazy experiences, and they look at life. Their mindset and their, look on life is actually very, worth looking at, because many of them, or you can kind of spot them when you're in a kind of in a bad situation where most people would be like, yeah, fuck this, would complain. They never complain, because something really important, or a big truth to these people, and that also came to me, not because of drugs, just in general, um, is that, complaining about something you can't change, for example, bad weather, there's no point. So you can find these people, you can spot them by, being in a shit situation but still smiling and being happy. Um, and that's how I met one of them. And that was on, we waited for a bus. We waited for a bus, which is common in Thailand, because when you book a bus, you don't book a seat, you book a ticket to get to the city that you're trying to get to. So when the bus is full, you have to wait for another one, which is kind of fucked, but yeah, that's just how it is. So we couldn't change anything about it. And so most people complain and we're like, fuck this. But me and him kind of, we were having fun, we're joking around. And that's how we got more into talking. And then he told me his crazy story. To sum it up, he was from Switzerland. He's a rapper. He's actually a rapper. He has music out on Spotify and shit. And he got into business, and someone looked at his song, and he got into a business with gold and some Guyana gold mining thing, and now he makes like 5K a month without doing anything. That's what he said, and I don't think the guy's bullshitting. Like, everything he told me that I could, look up was real. He did actually have an office in Zurich, and he did actually, he's, yeah, everything that, I could confirm online by searching was true. So I definitely believe his story. But the more I've seen of him, and the more I also watch um, his stories, I realized that, what he's doing is definitely cool. Like, um, he's basically, he has everything that you need. He has like this passive 5K a month, which is, what many people is all they would ask for. And then what he does is he just travels around, does whatever he wants to do. He's also generous. He tips big. He's very kind to the local people here. If yeah, so that's like, he's not a bad person at all. Like, he's a very nice person. Um, but I realized, the more I've seen of him, that he doesn't use drugs, he abuses them. Um, and if you think right now that, yeah, of course, someone who uses drugs, someone who, I don't know, drinks, smokes weed or something, is instantly like an idiot, or someone who, well, maybe not an idiot, but is instantly like, yeah, short-term fun, quick dopamine. Maybe to a bit of an extent that's true, but it's actually, I feel like there's definitely some prejudice towards many drugs, especially because most of these people actually don't drink alcohol. Weed smokers. There are actually many famous people who smoke weed who are very mentally clear, and they are not. They're not stupid or anything. For example, I don't know if you know Kevin Durant, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I think he is a stoner. He regularly smokes. He's not stupid at all. He's an insane player. Someone. Many others, Cat Williams as well. So yeah, my point is that if you do have prejudice towards people taking drugs in general, I think you shouldn't, because there are many people. There are definitely, don't get me wrong, there are many people who kind of fall into drugs and get addicted, and it harms their life. But there are also people who take drugs and the drugs do not harm their life, which might be something that you cannot understand right now. But the more you get around these people, and the more you hang out with them, you don't even have to take drugs or anything to realize it. But the more you come across these people, the more you realize that things aren't always as black and white as they are depicted online, or maybe by your friends or parents. You cannot really judge people by just looking at them. You have to really talk with them and observe them, and that's when you realize if they actually have a problem or not. It's not something you can just assume, at least not correctly. But this guy, he definitely had a problem because, you know, if you take drugs every day and like drink every day and shit, that's obviously bad. Because if there are actually some drugs that you can take every now and then that are very likely to not do any harm to you, and that's why I'm saying this. I'm saying this to the people who think that every drug is always bad for your health or for your mental or whatever. I'm not suggesting that you need drugs for anything. But yeah, I think this is also another interesting topic because it's something I asked myself. Do you need drugs, or can you like get into the same mental state and get to become the same person that you become when you take drugs without ever taking any drugs? I'm specifically talking about the more psychoactive drugs, not alcohol. Alcohol is a shit drug in every metric. But yeah, that's probably, I'm going to talk about this in another video because it's something that's been flying around my mind a lot recently. It's very interesting. But yeah, this guy abused drugs. So I realized, like, yeah, he's very cool. He did this business shit that's very admirable. He rapped. He's definitely intelligent. He also, played football really well. So, he did all these things that many people would love to have achieved. But the way he's living right now is for the moment. And in his case, you could actually say that that's not really bad because he can allow himself to do that because he has the money, he has everything that he needs. It's not like he lives for the moment, but then in 5 years he's fucked. Because in 5 years he's still going to be fine money-wise and so on. But the point is that, yes, I noticed that he did too many drugs that could not be possibly healthy long term. And also, the drug thing, like the more you take, the less fulfilling it really becomes. It's the more drugs people take, the more they live in an illusion of life being amazing. But they actually forgot what they cared about before. And I'm not saying materialistic things or anything, but people tend to care less about family and stuff. And that's not something I want to lose. So yeah, this guy, not a role model for me, at least. Like, I noticed something that I don't want for me, and that I thought I disagreed with, and that was his excessive drug use. And this basically happened with so many people that I came to the realization, and I think that's a very, very important realization in probably every man's life, that you maybe you already had, or you will have one day, or maybe you realize it now as I tell you this. But the more you mature, the more you experience life and people and reflect on yourself and what you want to do, who you want to be, the more you realize that maybe you don't need a role model, but there's nobody who you really want to become like, because nobody is like you. There's always going to be some differences and some things you disagree on. So it's basically impossible to have this one person who you admire, who's exactly who you want to be like. That very rarely happens if you're honest with yourself, because people are individual, like people are very unique, and they could be like, I and this other guy could be very similar in many things, but if there's like one disagreement, then that's already enough to, not look at him like this amazing godlike creature who I want to become like. And I'm not saying even whether that's good or bad to have something, or to look at someone and be like, yes, that's exactly what I want to be like. I'm not judging whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying that for most people, this, especially if you are similar to me, if you think and reflect and analyze a lot, think about your life a lot, and about what you want to do, what you want to be, um, and that sort of stuff. If you are like me in that sense, chances are there's not going to be a single person that's like your your perfect role model. There's not going to be a single one, so you have to accept that you have to accept that you kind of have to, in a sense, go through this life alone. Of course, many problems, you can go look for advice from YouTubers, from your parents, from, I don't know, your brother, your whatever, your teachers, or some mentor you have. But some problems or some dilemmas or some some hurdles that life throws at you, some of them can only be solved by you, and with your mind. And something that I also realized that I think is valuable is to know that and be aware that you honestly don't really need advice, um, because you have it all within you. This maybe sounds a bit stupid, but I'm not talking about information, about learning stuff. Like, of course, you don't have all the information of the world within you, but um, if we're talking about advice and what to do, how to behave, what do I do if this happens, you don't need to look at your phone or ask ChatGPT or ask a Discord person. You don't need to do any of this. You have all the answers within, at least to your questions, and maybe sometimes they take some time to figure out what the answer to a problem is, but they all come. So don't be disappointed. Be grateful that you know you are so powerful and you have um, all this great knowledge within you. I think that's very important. And yeah, honestly, I don't know if I wanted to say more. Maybe let me think about what else I want to add, and let what I said sink in for a second, because I think there's some very valuable and interesting things that I talked about in this video. So just let it sink in while I think about what else I can talk about next. Okay, so something else I want to say is that um, something I learned while traveling here in Thailand is to know how important it is to stay true to yourself. And that sounds very wishy-washy, but what I mean by that is we do so many things because of what other people think of us, or because of what we think other people will think of us if we do X. For example, um, the pants I'm wearing like €3 fake Versace pants. Um, when I bought them, I was really unsure, and I kind of didn't want to wear them. because it was kind of cringe, and people thought I was gonna be like, flexing fake designer shit or something. No, I just liked the pants. I just liked the color. They were cheap. And so I still fight with this. Fuck, mosquito got his ass. I still fight with this to this day, and I think you can never really get free um of basing your decisions at least somewhat on other people's judgments. But it's really a great thing if you start right now and today with just deciding like completely without any people's judgments or whatever they might think, and just do what you want to do. And chances are you don't really have to reason. You really have to tell people why you're doing this. Nobody asked why you're wearing these pants. Nobody asked me this. So it's not like you're gonna come across problems if you do that. But just try to be as much you as you can. And that sounds a bit wishy-washy, I know. And it's also, when I first heard this advice, I didn't really know what to do with it. 1 or 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I didn't really know what to do with it. Because it's not like, it's something that you realize over time that kind of comes to you the more you look around the world, the more you experience other people, other cultures. Yeah, it kind of comes to you. But it's very important, and I think it's like one of the best things to keep in mind. And the more you do it, the more you will get incredibly happy. Maybe not happy, but at peace. You have less inner conflict, which is something that I personally struggled with a lot. I always had a lot of inner conflict. I was always mad at myself for not, achieving this and that, or not having the motivation to do what I wanted to do. But the more you become your friend instead of your enemy, everything will become better. So really try to do that and keep that in mind. And if you're still watching this video, by the way, then I hope it was interesting. I might be yapping a bit, but I'm only 19, by the way, and I've already learned so much about life, and I'm not that special. You're probably, you just have to look around and be very observing of other people and be curious. Ask people questions. And don't shy away from, don't think that there's stupid questions to ask. You can ask every question. It actually shows honesty. It shows that you're not scared. So that's also something that I want to tell you that I think matters. But yeah, I'll probably do multiple more videos after this one in a second, just because it's very fun, and I think because in the past weeks I learned a lot and I reflected a lot. I wrote down a lot in my journal, and I think I have a lot to tell people like me, younger people who don't really know what life is all about. Because I'm just starting to really realize how amazing life can be, and how there are so many different paths you can take, and how, before I thought there was only like this one path to go down. And I'm realizing now that there's many different things I can do. And there's many things, there's many lives that people are living, and showing like that's the life to live. But you have to realize how many of these life paths exist. For example, it's good to actually be around these drug people, which sounds bad right now without context, but it's good to be around these people and see what this life looks like. Because maybe it's great to you, maybe it isn't. But after you've come across these people, if you never come across these people and these different lives, also in different countries, for example, in Thailand here, just seeing how the locals live, That's also very, eye-opening, because you realize that um, there are places, they all look pretty, they're not very super clean or, amazingly built. For example, look at this. Like here, it's nothing here is really perfect, but the people here don't care. So, that's like, I realized that many things that I thought were important aren't really important. So my point is, the more different people you come across, and the more you are curious and ask them questions and interact with them and observe what's happening around you, um, the clearer you can understand and determine what you want your own life and future to look like. Because it would be stupid to just go down this path that you're convinced is great if you don't even know what else is possible and you've never even seen actually anything else. So that's the last thing that I wanted to tell you. So one advice: go travel, especially Southeast Asia is great because there's many interesting people. Like, especially if you come to Thailand, go to Koh Phangan. Um, it's like, really, there are many of these like drug people, but they are very interesting sometimes. Maybe not always, but yeah, I've also met a guy from Albania, and he looked like Jesus, and he also kind of was like Jesus. Um, he guided us to this party like through the jungle. He walked in front of us, and he was incredibly, like, he had a long hair, long beard, very, very, very skinny, but muscular to an extent. And he just walked there. And he also behaved a bit like Jesus. He guided us, always waited for us because he was so fast, always waited for us when we were slow. He actually took my mate's backpack, which was very heavy, and he took that and carried it for him, just out of kindness. Um, these are the people you come across if you're open to meeting new people, and if you're open to experiences other than the ones that you already know and you already like. So yeah, Koh Phangan, great place. Thailand in general is interesting. But yeah, Southeast Asia is great because it's cheap. That's basically it. And if I travel the world more, I can probably give you more and better advice than right now. But you can probably go anywhere if you have the right mindset. If you're observing, you're curious, then you can always learn a lot, because it's just great to be in new and different environments. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end the video. Otherwise, it's just going to be too much. I hope I hope you learned something from it. I hope it made you think. I hope it maybe helps you realize something for your own life. With that said, take care and don't be worried. Everything is going to be fine. It always will be. So yeah, take care.